Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was once again The Conjuring Last Rite, making $3.1 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $172 million and its worldwide totals of $473 million. So once again, defying the odds, this movie shows no signs of stopping, despite it's been almost well over a month since the movie's been out, and yet the film is still sticking around in the top 5. Just absolutely insane staying power. Again, I know it's spooky month and people want to see some horror movies, but the fact that this movie is still sticking around, it's still in the top 5, just absolutely amazes me. Just again, the word of mouth and being the only big horror movie out right now. We got a couple of smaller ones here and there, but this is the main one. Definitely helped this movie out a ton, benefited out the most, I think, these past couple of weeks. But I do think that this week definitely will be the last time we see it in the top 5, especially given the fact that we got finally a new big horror movie sequel coming out this weekend. So everybody say goodbye to The Conjuring. It had a really strong run at the box office. While it won't hit the $200 million milestone domestically or $500 million milestone worldwide, still an absolutely impressive run at the box office. Biggest horror movie of the year worldwide, second biggest domestically. Just an insanely impressive run. Definitely exceeded many people's expectations for sure. Number 4 was once again Gabby's Dollhouse the movie, making $3.4 million this weekend. Its domestic total is now at $26 million and its worldwide total is at $42 million. So it did bounce back, as many probably expected it to do, as again there's no other kids movies out right now, and I'm sure there's still plenty of families who needed something to take their kids to see this weekend, but still it's not doing anything grand or anything special either. Yeah, it surpassed the initial production budget worldwide, but now it needs to double it, and I'm not sure if it's going to be able to do that. Again, I just don't think this show that's really popular on Netflix translated well to theaters. It has a very specific audience, and it's unfortunately not as wide of an audience as something like Paw Patrol, where it's multiple kids would still go and check out the film. This has a very specific young audience, and it just wasn't able to expand outside of that. I think it will still be very popular on Netflix whenever it drops on the streaming service, but theatrically I just think that this risk didn't pay off for the studio, unfortunately. So yeah, again, not terrible or anything, but nothing to write home about. Number 3 was One Battle After Another, making $6.8 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $54 million and its worldwide total to $138 million. So the film still held pretty well this weekend. Some people felt the drop was a bit steeper than they expected because the other big blockbuster took all the PLFs away from this movie, but more on that later. But still, I would say this is another solid hold. People are still going to check it out. People still telling others to go see it, and many of them are still enjoying the film. Again, I think this is great to see the movie legging out, finding its audience, even if it's not enough to salvage the loss for this movie. Again, the budget just way too much. Yeah, it was able to make it back, which I think is the best case scenario, but still it has to double that, and I just don't think that's very likely. But still though, the fact that it's even gotten this just past this milestone is still pretty impressive to see. Again, there were a bunch of naysayers saying this movie was doomed, and to some extent it is, because again, it's not going to get to the doubling point, but this is still, I say, a pretty solid turnout for this movie. Once again, it's holding out well. The legs have been strong. The word of mouth has been very positive. It seems that many people are enjoying this movie, and seeing as how October is looking much lighter than expected, I think this movie will continue to leg out throughout the slower than expected month of movie going here. So yeah, I'd say another solid weekend for One Battle After Another. It continues to do solid business given the type of movie it is. Not for the budget, again. The movie was just way too expensive, but as is, I'm still not disappointed by these numbers. Number 2 was Roof Man, opening with $8.1 million this weekend domestically, and $8.2 million worldwide. I didn't discuss this movie last week because I had very low expectations for it. I didn't see much of a marketing push, and I didn't see much buzz for the film either. And my suspicions were proven to be correct because there was very little interest to go check this movie out, despite it being based on such a bizarre true story and the star power of Channing Tatum, and even some solid critical response. Reviews weren't amazing or anything, but critics enjoyed it a lot. I've seen a lot of good reviews here, but that just wasn't enough to convince people to go check it out. Again, I didn't see much of a marketing push for this movie really, and I didn't know too many people who were interested or all that excited about this film, which is a shame because, again, apparently it's very good, and the movie wasn't that expensive to make, so it didn't need much to become successful, but still it just doesn't seem like the interest was going to be enough to get this movie where it needs to be. And again, even though the interest is low, there is still a chance for this movie to be successful. Again, the budget was around $17-19 million, so maybe if legs help it out, and once the international numbers start to grow a bit, and help out with the worldwide total, maybe it'll get to where it needs to. But even then, audience reception does not seem to be as strong as the critics. Again, critics enjoyed it a lot. It was in the low 80s last I checked, while audiences were a bit more, I won't say on the negative side, but they didn't enjoy it as much. It got a B plus on Cinema Score, which isn't great to see for a movie that I'm sure they were hoping would be this big, smaller little sleeper hit, and would really rely on nice strong legs. But unfortunately, it just didn't seem like it's winning over audiences. So again, it might get those legs again. October's looking a little light this year, so maybe the word of mouth does help it out a bit, and it makes the most out of the slow down time period. But as is, this is still a pretty lackluster opening. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, which was Tron Ares, opening with $33 million this weekend domestically and $59 million worldwide. I bought into the hype. What can I say? I felt like, with all the hype and built up demand for a new Tron film, and, just the reevaluation of Tron legacy over the years, I thought, maybe there is an audience for Tron. Maybe we just had to wait a little while for, the audience to really grow, and maybe this one will actually, maybe not be the next phenomenon or anything, but show people that Tron has its foot in pop culture. And I was wrong. This movie definitely underperformed expectations, for sure. This was a big blockbuster. In fact, it's the only major blockbuster this month since Mortal Kombat got pushed to next summer. So there was a lot riding on this one, a lot of expectations, hoping this would deliver the goods, but unfortunately it just didn't, despite a big marketing push, despite the name recognition. Tron it continues to be the black sheep of the Disney brand. It has its fans, but its fans are still a small part of the movie going audience, really. Some people were excited to see it, but most people just weren't interested, maybe because it was Jared Leto, maybe because the movie didn't look that promising, maybe because, again, people just don't really care about Tron. I don't know, but unfortunately this movie just disappointed at the box office. Not too many people wanted to go check it out, and also those who have checked it out aren't big fans of it. They're not hating it, but the response has been very, very mixed. Critics are divided. It was in the mid 50s last I checked, and audiences are also pretty divided. It got a B plus on Cinema Score. Again, it is on par with the previous film, but you would hope that this would improve upon the reception that movie got when it first came out. This one was hoping to be the one that really revives, however you want to call it, the Tron franchise, and so they could make more movies out of this franchise. But once again, nope, it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen with Tron, unfortunately. So I guess I'll see y'all again in 15 years when they try to bring back Tron again. Hopefully they get it right that time, but as is, Tron is not looking like the big blockbuster they were hoping it would be. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend, the big new wide release that I think will make the biggest impact in the top 5 is The Black Phone 2. That's right, the grabber is back and he's now terrifying children through their dreams. So now the kid from the first movie has to, you guessed it, use the Black Phone 2 to put an end to the grabber once and for all. Now, the first film was a really solid hit when it first came out, which was surprising because it was this little horror film coming out during a very crowded part of the summer, and it was also early in the recovery period for movie-going, so expectations were a bit soft, but it defied those expectations and became a pretty solid hit for itself, and so naturally, Blumhouse sequelized it, and hopefully this is the win they need because it's been a rough year for the studio, and this is their second to last big movie of the year. It's this and Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's all they have, but I'm going to be optimistic. I'm not guaranteeing this, but I'm going to be a bit more optimistic for this one to deliver the goods. First off, again, it's October. This is like the first like major new horror film since The Conjuring, and I think people are thirsty for a new like major horror film, and this one's gonna supply the goods. The marketing has been very solid. Been seeing tons of promos for this all over the place, and reviews thus far have been pretty good. Some critics prefer the first over this one, but they still found it to be an enjoyable little sequel, so hopefully that boosts up ticket sales and the box office numbers for this. The way I see it, I feel like this is probably going to be something similar to what we saw with Smile 2 last year, so much so that they've even come out around the same time, where the first one was this really big surprise hit, and while the second one is still successful, there is a bit of a decline. Again, I just don't see the hype that I saw for the first one with this one. Again, I think just the wow factor has diminished because people know what to expect with the sequel. So I think that's just a big thing. And again, Blumhouse hasn't had the best track record this year thus far. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm still going to be a bit optimistic. I still think this movie's going to deliver the goods. I'm hopeful that we'll see a pretty solid opening here. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.